Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Lori Howard. I'm the CASAS Program Specialist Coordinator. Today, we're going to be talking about how to complete the IELCE report for 2022-23. Our goals and objectives: by the end of this session, participants will be able to complete the 2022-2023 IELCE report effectively. And here's the link, and I'm going to put it in the chat too. To the report. You won't be able to access it right now. If you do access it accidentally, or it is open to you, I would suggest you not work on it yet, because there is a little problem we're trying to fix with it right now, but it should be up before planned. And I will send you an email, those of you on my IELTS Civics Network list, to tell you when it's open. Well, if you did complete it before last year, it will be very much the same. I'm going to highlight the few changes, but if you did it last year, it will be almost exactly the same. For those of you who haven't done it yet, you will learn everything you need to know about it in this webinar. I just want to remind you that the purpose of the report is to report the implementation of IELCE programs that started on July 1, 2022, and will continue until June 30th of 2023. So you are going to report before April 30th, but you should also include your estimation of what will happen through June 30th of 2023. So even though you are going to complete the report in April or sooner, you will do any estimation. So if you have a class that's going to start on April 30th, for example, just put in what you estimate. And then in the comments, just say this is an estimation because the class hasn't started yet. But do include everything that will go through June 30th of 2023. And then if you are funded for 23-24 and beyond, then you would also optionally, but we would love to see any planning that you're doing for any new IELCE programs for next year. So that's optional. You don't have to do that, but we would like to see if you are going to have any new programs that you plan, that you let us know. So that's the purpose of the report, to tell what you've done this year and what you plan to do next year. And the 2023 report, as I mentioned, is the same as 21-22, except for a few changes in language and a few extra questions. In green here, the program coordination support qualitative part A. There are added and revised questions, and I'm going to share those with you today. I've shared them with you already in the last two IELTS Civics Network meetings, if you participate in those, so you already know that. And just as a tip, always use Chrome when you're entering the electronic IELCE report. And as I mentioned, it will be open on or before April 1st. Certainly by April 1st, we hope sooner. And I will send you an email if you're on my IELTS Civics Network list. I'll send you an email to say when it's open. I would guess it will be next week, but I don't want to promise. But for certain, I can promise by April 1st. And as I've suggested in the IELTS Civics Networks meetings, what we suggest you do is start working on it today, if you haven't already, in a Word or other document, and for the narrative portions. And then when the electronic form does open, you can just cut and paste into the narrative portions. Of course, you will have to input the parts that are not narrative, but you'll have so much of it done by that time. And who should complete the report? Administrator, IELTS Civics Coordinator, lead teacher, with a collaboration of ESLCT and support services staff. Whoever knows the program best, that is who should complete this report. If you know all the pieces, or if you can gather information from your ESL, CTE, and support services staff, so you have all the information, then you're the right person. And just to let you know, this year we're asking for your email address and phone number so that we can be sure to contact you and know who the contact person is. So that's one of the new things on the report. This is how you access the report. Besides going to the link I gave you, if you just go to www.casas.org, then you go to the California Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education page, which is this one. And then on the left-hand side, there's a menu link. Okay, and if you click on that, then you will receive, let's see if it's here. Yes, a summary of the report. So now, even though the electronic report is not open, the summary is there. This is just an abbreviated look at the summary, but every item that's on the report is here. So you can use this summary, as I've mentioned in the IELTS Civics meetings previously. Everything you need is here, what you need to answer for the narrative portions. And you can start working on it now if you haven't already. Then when the report is open electronically, you can just click on this where the red arrow is, Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education Reports, and it will take you to the page. Okay, or you can use the link that I put in there. Yeah, this link will take you to this page. And you will see the IELCE report instructions. You will be able to, again, when it's open, to enter the IELCE report. You will be able to read and access previous reports. And I recommend that you do this. So even if you filled it out last year, well, if you filled it out last year, hopefully you have a saved copy of your report and the review comments. That would be great to have, because you want to have implemented anything that was suggested to you in the review comments last year. But if you're new and you don't have this report or don't have access to it, you can access the reports from the previous years, all the way back to 2019. The report is pretty much the same in 2021, 22, and 2021. It's a different, actually, it wasn't the report. I should have changed that. It was the plan, I think, in 2019, 2020. So, but anyways, so I would suggest if you're going to access something that you access either of the last two. I wouldn't go back to the third because the report is different. Okay.
Lori, Cheryl
Yeah.
had a question.
Thank you.
She said, just to clarify, we will not be WIOA until 23-24. Do we need to complete the report this year?
No, you do not, because you have nothing to report. So this is only for people who were funded. Thank you for this great question. Only for people who were funded 2022, 23 from June 1st until this coming June 30th. So if you're not funded this year, you do not need to do this. However, if you're here already and you want to see, you'll know how you should plan your program to complete these requirements for next year. So it's not bad, but you do not need to be here because you can't complete the report. I don't think it will allow you to enter because you won't be authorized as a WIOA to IELCE funded agency this year. Okay, when you open the report, this is the first page you'll get. These are what we call the assurances. And you should read, there are only 4 here on this screen, but there are 6 assurances, and you're just promising that you are funded and that you've done all the things you were required to do as part of the funding. I'm not going to go over that now, but you need to read that. And, oh, yes. And then you have to promise that you've read all the assurances and you certify that you will comply with the requirements, et cetera, for this funding. And then you put your name and title, your email and phone. Remember, those are new because we want to be able to contact you in case there's some problem. And also when we review, we want to be able to send the review to the correct person, et cetera. And then the date will automatically come up. And then I think you just type your name in. So that's the first part, the assurances. Then you go to page 2, which is actually telling the implementation. So it says page 2 is part 1, IELCE implementation for 2022-23. Again, July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. And the report wants you to explain the integration of the IET, Integrated Education and Training Components. And it says, enter the training programs using the form below and click add to add another program. So we're going to go through basically 30 slides for one program, what you're going to do for one program. And then if you have others, you're going to come back to the slide and press the add button. But you don't need to do it the first time. The first time, you just see all these items here and you fill them in. For the first program, you decide to submit. So we're going to look at that. So in the first section, industry sector, there is a drop-down menu, and you should decide which industry sector it belongs to. Okay, building and construction trades, health, education, child development. So if we were, for example, a child care program, we would choose education, child development, and family. If we were pharmacy tech, we would choose health, science, and medical technology as our industry sector. Again, this is a drop-down menu, so you just choose the one. The next item is career pathway. And then this is something for you to decide. Some of your programs have multiple health, you have pharmacy tech, you have home health care aid, you have medical assistant. Then you would choose a general name for all of those and have a career pathway that leads to a number of, for example, in this case, health careers could be one, could be your pathway, because you might have a number of courses that lead to something in health careers. So you choose an overall pathway that a number of courses could fit in. Maybe you only have one course, so it doesn't matter, but you might add courses in the future. The next one is training program, and that's the name basically of the course, the name of the job that the student will be getting once they finish this training. So that's what we'd like to see here. For example, pharmacy technician, community healthcare worker, home healthcare aide. The training program should be the name of what the person will be when they graduate, and possibly the name of the course as well, but they may or may not be the same. The next item is a credential type. This is a drop-down menu also, so and there are just these ones, and we suggest that you choose one of these if you can. If not, you will select other, and then your CDE consultant might contact you or review the credential that you or certificate that you put down here. So take a choice. One of the choices is local agency CTE program certificate that meets CDE standards. So you might be certifying that the student has certain skills at your own agency, and that is one of the possible items. Okay, then specific certification. If you're giving them a certificate, we'd like the name. So these are some names that people have given before, and it might be something that comes from a standardized certificate, or something that you, a certificate that you make at your agency. And the last item here is what the teaching model, whether it's co-teaching or alternating teaching. So co-teaching is an ESL teacher and a workforce training teacher are in the same classroom doing the work together. And alternating teaching is a CTE teacher is giving training, and an ESL teacher is offering support to that training in a different classroom. So you need to choose which model you're using. So any questions so far for this first section?
Yes, Lori, I have a question. This is
Go
Kathleen.
ahead, Kathleen.
Okay, I'm looking at the credential type. We have a business often technology certification, and it is by industry standards. So I don't know which would it be. It's developed. It says that it's for industry standards of this. Basically, students are proving that they can. They're showing that they can. That they're competent in these office skills.
And who's giving this certificate, you or the agency?
We are giving it. We are giving it, but it is a industry. It's the certification is recognized industry standards.
So again, this is not my area of expertise. You might want to talk to your CD consultant, but I probably would select this local agency one, and then you can put on it, parens meets industry standards or something. Like
Okay.
you can call it whatever you want if it doesn't seem to fit into any of these others. This is the list that the CDE gave us, and so we're working within this. So you could put other if you wish,
and then
but
just
if you're
clarify. Okay, and then like for specific, we have the specific name of the certification, so we can put down the exact name of the certificate. And
Yes.
then as far as the teaching model, we have the same teacher is a CTE teacher and an ESL teacher. And so does 2 days on one and 2 days on the other. So that is alternating.
No, I would call 2 days on one and 2 days on the other. Not really crucial in this case. Are they in the same, is it in the same classroom?
Same classroom, same teacher, just the
Yeah.
option to get the support, the workforce prep and the literacy
Right.
support.
I would probably call it co-teaching, just because the teacher is teaching it with herself. But most importantly, I would just explain in
Okay.
the comments what you're doing.
Okay.
But anybody else, Portia or David Stang, would you like to comment on that, what they should say? As long as the teacher is dual credentialed, yeah, they have to be. So they have to be credentialed in both ESL and the CTE in order to do that. I would call it co-teaching, because if it were two people, it would be the same classroom, but that's not really crucial.
Okay, as long as we can explain how it's being implemented.
Exactly.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
thank
Kathleen,
you.
I think that's really a great point. Just really explain clearly what you're doing. Make it easy for anybody to be able to go back to that plan and know what you're doing, because next year you might have different people working and they need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Portia.
all right,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's go ahead here. Okay, so now let's go to the next part of it, which is just lower down on the page. So this page 2 continues. You have to just keep scrolling down, and it starts by hitting add here, I think, or you can just start typing. I'm not sure which. Yeah, I think you do have to hit add. And then the first thing it asks you, it opens up this box and you put in the course title. Again, it can be the name as your training program. If it is like pharmacy tech, if that's the name of the course, whatever the name of the course is that the student is taking, you're going to put it here. Okay, and then you're going to tell, so it says, use actual course name, for example, certified nurse assistant, healthcare essentials. Add any training courses that are part of the training program. So you might have one course called pharmacy tech, but you also might have medical terminology. All the training that the students are getting throughout the year in this program should be listed in this first column. So you might have more than one. And the example here, medical terminology, pharmacy tech 1, pharmacy tech 2, pharmacy tech 3. If it's 3 trimesters of pharmacy tech, for example, you would just keep adding the courses, or you could say pharmacy tech 1, 2, and 3 and show the number of weeks for the whole year. Whatever you do, just make sure, as Portia said, that you let us know what it is. So in the comments, tell us, this is a 1-semester course, this is a 2-semester course, this is a 3-semester course. Whatever it is, you want to explain it so that we understand the scope of it. This is your opportunity to tell us. And in Kathleen's case, she would say, this course is taught by one teacher who has both a CTE and an ESL credential. She teaches blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, I guess that's another thing, Kathleen, does the course have 2 names, or does it have just one name?
Yes, we made it into 2 names when we're registering students.
Okay.
So there's 2 section numbers.
Okay.
There's 2
If
section
that's the
numbers.
case, then I would call it alternating teaching, because you're gonna call it 2 different things. So in
Yeah.
this column, you're calling it which is the workforce training course. Kathleen, which is the workforce training course?
What workforce training? Okay, it's called the business office technology.
Great.
And then we just call the other one business office technology support.
Okay, great. So the first one would be in this column and the second one would be in this column. And then,
Right.
So then you would, you wouldn't really have to tell us it's the same teacher, because you've called it 2 different
Right.
names and it's 2 different courses. So you don't need to explain that really.
And then
because
they
you
get the
want it
literacy support. The literacy would also be under the support class.
Okay, well, so then I'll get
Yeah.
to that in a second. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
So that's okay. So workforce training. So the training course is here, hours, et cetera. Again, you want to tell us what's happening for the year. So you can either list it as a 1-semester course and in the comments say this takes place 3 semesters for the hours and weeks, or you can list the whole year's worth of weeks. Whatever is most convenient for you is fine. Any questions about the workforce training course?
Yeah, I get confused on this every year.
Okay,
So we have the same course that repeats 3 times, let's say, during the year.
mhm.
So how do we list the hours and the weeks and all that?
So again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's the same course and it's the same number of weeks, and you can either do it by listing one and saying it repeats 3 times, or if you want to do for the year, the ELL enrollment, you probably want to say all of your students that you've had throughout the year. So you might say, hours per week is whatever, 3 times. Well, as long as we understand it, that's the important thing.
Okay,
So,
great. I'm sorry. I'm still.
so you could do it either for the whole year, or you could, if it's a semester and it ends, I'd probably just do the semester if the students finish at that time.
Mhm.
So I would probably say, 3 hours per week for 10 weeks, the total hours for that period. And then in the comments, say this course repeats 3 times. I would probably put the total enrollment for the year. And then in the comments say, in course 1, we had 20, in course 2, we had 35, in course 3, we had 56. And that total would reflect here in the ELL enrollment for the year.
Okay, thanks.
As long as you explain it in the comments, however you do it, as long as we know what happened, that's what's important.
Could I
Okay.
ask a question?
Sure.
So we have 3 sections of phlebotomy that we offer. One is a 1 semester. The evening class is a full year. And then we have a phlebotomy cohort that's designed completely differently that we do in partnership with the Career Center. Would we put them all under phlebotomy and then give that breakdown in the comments, or since they're different hours and different levels of support, like the Career Center cohort has a lot more support than the regular phlebotomy as far as hours, would I need to enter those all separately?
I probably would, because you're going to describe it differently. You might make it a different training course, even, what phlebotomy 1 program, and do that one and then do another. Or you could just describe it differently. You could put 3 courses here in the training program and just say, the number of hours, et cetera. And then when you get to the program coordination, you could just list it separately. This course has this separate, and then this course has the same as above, but these added things. As long as you let us know what it really is so we can understand it, you can do it whatever's most convenient. If you separate it, then you're going to have to repeat a lot of things probably.
Yeah.
So I would say whatever's most convenient for you, but it sounds like you need to put it in at least 3 different courses here,
Yeah.
and say it's a different cohort.
Okay.
But then all the support material, the single set of learning objectives, everything else will be the same, right? Or differentiated in that area.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. And just to repeat, Kay, one of our program specialists, Kay Hartley, says important to clearly explain in the comment section. It helps with understanding what your program is doing. So if someone from outside understands what you're doing, you've explained it clearly, that's the important thing. So remember, this first column is workforce training. That's the career technical education. It needs to be taught by a career technical education teacher. It's not training if it's taught by only an ESL teacher, okay? Unless that teacher is a certified, career technical education teacher.
Lori,
Yes.
could there be more than 1 training course listed with the same workforce prep and work? So for example, if there are 3 courses to get the certificate, do they have to go back and relist all of the ESL, all of the workforce?
No. So it can all be here. So it says training program, you can add. So any training course that's part of this pathway can be listed here. So as it says here, medical terminology, pharmacy tech 1, pharmacy tech 2, pharmacy cohort 3.5, whatever it is, you can list them all here and show the workforce preparation activities. If it's different workforce preparation activities, just put in the comment, this workforce preparation supports this pharmacy tech 1, and this workforce preparation supports pharmacy tech too, as long as we can understand it and put it together and see the scope of your program. That's what we're going for. Did I answer your question, Portia?
Yes, and I asked it because I had some agencies that had started over for every single training course when it was all part of one pathway. So they really did more work than they needed to do.
Right. So we don't want you to do a lot of work. We just need to understand it. So, you know, that's why I said for this pharmacy tech question, I'm sorry, I don't know who asked it. But I would suggest you put it all in one so that all the support things, if they are the same, can be shown within this one thing and not having to repeat it as separate programs. Oh, I guess I didn't talk about this thing. ESL enrollment. This is English language learner enrollment. Even if your workforce training class, let's say pharmacy tech, has 20 native speaking students and 10 English language learners, we only want to know about the English language learners because those are the students who get funded through this funding source, IELCE 243. So you might have 30 students in the class, but if only 10 of them are ELL, English language learners, please put 10 here. Okay, so now we're talking about workforce preparation, and it happens to say activities. This is a word that's used from the grant, but we call it a course. Okay, so your workforce preparation course. If it is a co-teaching situation, then you're going to have the same name in workforce training and workforce preparation. It's the same course because the 243 funded objective is taught in this part of it, the workforce preparation, by the ESL teacher in the same course. Okay. And so this workforce preparation, this is the most normal place or most common place that the civic objective will be listed. And these civic objectives are how you get your funding, right? If a student is instructed and is assessed and passes one of the civic objectives, the 243 designated objectives, then you will earn payment points for that student. So this section is very important. And you would fill it out the same way. It's a course title. So if it's co-teaching, it would probably have the same course as the workforce training course and be listed here, but the civic objective would be listed. Perhaps the hours would be, well, the hours should be the same, but as Kathleen said, she's going to list them as two separate courses. She has a whole different title here. She's going to list the civic objective that's taught and the hours per week of that course. Let me see what else I've got for you here.
Excuse me, Lori.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does that civic objective come from the civic objective listed when we start looking at the co-ops? It says the civic objective
Yeah,
at
the
the
civic
top.
objective is the first number.
That first, okay,
of
it's
the-
whatever
right,
it
so
says. So if I did,
33, 22,
Yeah.
we don't differentiate that it's 23.2. It's whatever.
got it.
It's the civic objective number, the general civic objective number.
Thank you.
And again, the course title, the hours per week, et cetera, the enrollment, and any comments to explain it. Okay.
One more question, sorry.
Sure.
So if it's co-taught, you said that the hours per week and number of weeks are the same and total hours of workforce prep and workforce training are the same. That's accurate if it's co-taught?
If it's co-taught, they're in the same classroom and
Yes,
they're doing the same thing and they're doing it together, right?
right, but the workforce preparation might be the co-op itself. So it was really 30
don't
hours
separate-
towards.
So don't separate out the co-op. So never separate out the co-op. I know some of you in the ESL course separate out the co-op. It's not a separate course. So these are courses. So it's the course, and within the course, you teach a civic objective,
Mhm.
a co-op, and you assess it in the course. It's not the civic objective that's here. It's the course that's here.
Okay. So we
So
keep
it's
the
the
hours
same course, you just-
identical to workforce training.
Correct.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure. So now we have the ESL literacy course. And again, the reason these things are separated into 3 sections is because the CDE wants to know that you're remembering that you're teaching ESL here. Okay, so it's possible that if you're co-teaching, you're going to put and I'm going to show you some examples later, you might put the workforce training course in all 3 columns because you're teaching workforce prep and you're also teaching ESL. You're teaching the language that supports the training, and you might have all the way across the board the training course if it's co-taught. You need to have something in every column because these 3 items are what is required. So you need to have something in every column. It may be the same thing in every column, and I'll show you some examples of this. If your civic objective is only taught in the ESL course, you put the civic objective here. Okay, you don't have to put it in both places. In fact, we'd prefer you not, unless it really is taught in both places. Or you could have one civic objective for workforce preparation and a different civic objective for the ESL course. I'll show you some examples. But again, the course title, the civic objective, if it's taught here, the 243 one, okay, and the hours and the comments. Let me show you some examples so it'll be easier. So whoops, go back. So these are the 3 columns. Again, something needs to be in every column. So in a co-teaching example over here, it's co-teaching, then you're going to have the same exact information in each column because it's one course in which CTE is taught, business office skills is taught, there's workforce preparation, and there's adult literacy. Okay. So the ESL teacher is doing both of these things inside the business office skills course, and that's why it's listed in all 3 columns, same hours, same everything. It's possible that in an alternating teaching situation, you have the CTE teacher teaching business office skills and the ESL teacher teaching business office prep, and that teacher is teaching literacy skills and the COAP and other workforce prep skills. And so this course is listed in both columns because one course, business office prep, encompasses ESL and workforce prep. So that's a possibility. It's also possible to have 3 different teachers here. The CTE teacher, business office skills teacher. Sorry, I lost my cursor. There we go. An ESL teacher teaching the business office prep and teaching a COAP. And that's some of those students are also in ESL 4, just a general ESL 4 class, but they have the opportunity to be in this class, or some of these students are in both of these classes. So you would list it separately like this. And some of these ESL 4 students have the opportunity to be here in the business office prep and the business skills, but they're not yet doing it. We want to know about that. So the ESL 4 class is here. So you know that those students have the opportunity to take business office skills in the future. And they may be doing the same or different COAP that's taught here in the business office prep. If an ESL student is in both business office prep and ESL 4, you could teach the same information, but only test it in one place. Okay. It says we don't give the test more than once. And then some people might have their ESL 4 class as both the workforce prep and adult literacy for the business office skills class. We don't recommend this because we don't think this can really be targeted enough to really support the business office skills. But if you think it does, then, explain that in your report and show that that ESL 4 is supporting this with workforce prep, et cetera. This would not be the suggested model, but it's a possibility. Questions?
Lori, yes. If we're going to go by, looks like the second one down is what best fits what we're doing. So if I was going to mention my civic objective, we do EL civics. It's in the same class, the office prep. But when I'm filling in the lines here, the sections, the columns, do I just list the civic objective in one of these?
No, I would do it in both because
Okay.
it's the same class.
Because it's the same class. Okay, got it.
When it's a different class, I'd put it in the class where it's taught.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is an example of how it would be done, co-teaching example, okay? So the course, and this is a real example, someone did it this way, so I'm showing it to you. They put electrician or electrician training, whatever it would be. It's a co-taught class, there's an ESL teacher, okay? And you can say the electrician course is divided into 4 quarters of 9 to 10 weeks, so they're telling us the whole thing, and they put all the hours, all the weeks of the year, 38 weeks, so that's a whole year's worth. They put 22 hours a week, etc. And they told us, and they had 6 people enrolled. So well, this is a little different, right? Because they separated out their hours. And they said 4 hours in the electrician course is used for the co-ops. They have enough hours, so we would accept that. Okay, so they separated out. They wouldn't have to. I would suggest they just put the whole thing in here, but they happen to separate it out. And they put these 2 as the same. Okay, as long as you explain what you've done, it's fine. It could have been exactly the same, but obviously they wanted to separate out their hours for the ESL workplace part of it. They wouldn't have had to do that.
Hey, Lori, it's Alex here
Sure.
from Visalia Adult School. What is the minimum hour that we're shooting for? I've been
so
told
each-
maybe like 40 hours.
Each co-op requires 30 hours of instruction, so we would like to see at least 35 hours in the workforce preparation or ESL class that are designated for the co-op instruction. But 30 hours, so if you've got 4 listed, so in the one before, they listed it out and they have 152 hours, you could teach 30 hours of instruction would be 120. So they've got more than 120 hours here. So that works. They've taught
Okay, is
4
there
co-ops.
a minimum amount of co-ops if we're doing one co-op? Because we do a lot of short-term stuff. We're talking,
No, one co-op is fine. Again, this is your funding source. So if
Yeah,
you
we're-
only have the number of hours to teach one, that's fine. And
yeah, so
one
like
is
6 to
okay.
9 weeks, we're shooting for like one co-op.
Yeah,
So we're
that's
gonna be at
perfect.
like the minimum 30 hours per co-op.
Right.
Okay,
And Jamie's asking, or Jaime, I'm not sure which it is, sorry. So each class has to be either 243 or 231. So we're talking about 243 funding here. So none of these co-ops are 231. If in your ESL, if your ESL 4 class that we mentioned earlier, you're teaching a 231, that's fine, but don't tell us about it. We don't need to know that. We only want to know about your IELCE 243 funded programs.
Lori, can I make a comment about the co-ops? So again, the co-ops are your funding. If you're only putting one co-op in, that's pretty minimal funding. And if you have a course that runs multiple terms, you might want the students to do different co-ops. If they're the same students over multiple terms, it gives you more options. And I don't think there's any requirement to do all of the co-ops that you list. Is that correct? So for example, they've listed 4 co-ops here. If they do 2 of them, they're still in compliance.
Well, I wouldn't suggest they list them unless they have done or are planning to do. This isn't the selection process. This is what they're actually doing,
Okay.
in my opinion. You know, but if let's say you plan to do one between April and June and you don't do it, no harm, no foul. Again, it'll come out in the wash of your funding. If you do it, you'll get funded, and if you don't, you won't. You'll get the funding. But this is not for what you've selected for. This is reporting what you actually did. So I wouldn't list it unless you did it or plan to do it. Okay, this is one co-teaching example. Here's another co-teaching example. Co-teaching. So one was all 3 elements were taught in the one course, but here, this is co-teaching among workforce preparation and the training. There's one co-op taught here. These 6 students also happen to be enrolled in ESL Intermediate Low, and other co-ops are taught there. This enrollment could be all the students enrolled in this class. It doesn't have to be only those ones that are in the training, because these students in this course, have the opportunity to take these other courses. And so you could put more enrollment there. It doesn't really matter because, again, funding is not part of this report, but it'd be great to know that you have, 30 students in this class, 6 of which happen to be here, and you could put that in the comments. But again, these are real co-op reports that people decided to do. So this is another way that co-teaching can manifest. These 2 courses are co-taught, and there's also ESL that supports it, and some of those students are there. So now we're moving on to alternate teaching, and these are 3 separate courses. So business office technology, 3 hours per week, 10 weeks, 30 hours, and 6 people are enrolled. Again, they might say this course is offered more times a year, and the total enrollment they could put below is, 40 students. Again, we would like to know if this is only a 10-week period, is it offered again? And then you can show us the other enrollment, or you can put all the enrollment here and tell us this enrollment is for 3 courses. Just let us know. And then Prep for Success is the support class. They didn't, let's see, there's only 30 hours here. So we're going to hope that the objective is taught here in the intermediate ESL class. It could have been taught here also. Here's another alternate teaching example. Training for paraeducator, then advanced vessel bridge class. And this might be sort of like a vocational course for more than one training that teaches Objective 48. And then the students also could be enrolled in an ESL class, a separate ESL class. Again, if they're teaching the same co-op, that they'd only be tested in one place. Or you might have other co-ops taught here and a different one taught in the vessel bridge class. Okay, another alternating teaching class, certified nurse assistant, ESL for certified nurse assistant. And then so this can be the same course. In other words, the English support for certified nurse assistant happens in the ESL for certified nurse assistant. And they've put it in 2 places because there's no other ESL course. This is where ESL is taught in this one course. So they've listed it in both places. Again, you have to have each column filled out. So you just show where the literacy is being taught or the workforce prep is being taught. So this one, the agency did home support service provider and a job readiness, but if you notice, this is only 6 hours. So it really doesn't work to pull out just 6 hours here for the workforce preparation. They needed to put vocational ESL for home health aid in both columns, just like the previous one. And then you can list other job readiness things. You can put, CPR training, other things that are workforce preparation if you think they are, or they might be over here in the training column, depending what you think if it's workforce preparation or workforce training. But you need to have the ESL part of it with where you can teach the co-op here. So they shouldn't have put 33 here because this is only a 6-hour class. They couldn't possibly have taught the co-op here. So this should be out, and they should have repeated this here and left this here without the civic objective being listed. Okay, and again, this model was not suggested. That please don't pull out the co-op into its own item here. This is what this is, research educational opportunities, that's 14.5. Some people have done this. They list the ESL course and they put the workforce preparation over here. Just list the course in both places if that's where it is and show the co-op being taught, but don't pull it out into its workforce prep thing. This should be the whole course name, not this. And they got confused because of the word activities. That's again is the federal word that's used, but it's actually a course is what we want to see here. Okay, I hope these examples have helped you and not confused you. So we have a question here. Will the 6 students doing co-op 48 and 23 in the ESL class earn payment points at the IELCE rate? So let's go back to that one. Okay, so this is the question. Will the 6 students doing co-op 48 and 23 in the ESL class earn payment points? So the other 20 students will earn payment points at the $2 sign rate. The 6 students, if they are enrolled here and enrolled here and enrolled here, they'll earn payment points at the $3 sign rate. So these students, because they're in training, earn at the $3 sign. Anybody in this course that's not in training earns at the $2 sign. And yes, and there was a question about how many. So there are 3 possible payment points per year, 243 payment points. And I know we saw before that 4 co-ops were listed or civic objectives were listed in one of the courses. It's fine to have to teach more than 4 and test more than 4. It's possible some students will pass one set of 3 and another set of 3, or they'll only pass 2. You can teach more. They only earn payment points for 3 of them, 243. And if they happen to be in an ESL class that's teaching 231, they could also earn 231 payment points, but that's not part of this program. So we don't want to talk about that or list it. So now we're still on page 2, but we've moved to the single set of learning objectives. So the single set of learning objectives identifies the specific content from the IELCE and IET class. This is a collaboration among the ESL teachers and the CTE teachers to develop what is going to be taught. So what English support is going to support the training. So that's what we want to see here. We want to see those single set of learning objectives, and administrators should be giving time to the CTE and ESL teacher to develop those learning objectives so that the ESL teacher is supporting and offering the language that will help the student succeed in training. So here's an example of some skills. Okay, so this is somebody from business office skills. They happen to break it up into technology and communication. I think they broke it up into what the training might be and then the communication skills needed. So select and use appropriate MS Office software applications to produce common workplace documents. What we want to see here is something that would be communicative, because the IELCE program is teaching language. So you can see here, describe orally actions used to open, save, close, and print existing files. So it has to do with language. Compose, send, and respond to various types of office emails. So it's the language that needs to be taught in order to succeed in training, taught and learned. Okay, and there is a webinar about developing a single set of learning objectives. If you're not familiar with that, you can link to this webinar. It is on the IELCE page of the CASAS website. Okay, the next part of page 2 is workforce training providers. So so this can be done in a number of ways. The training provider is the person who can answer questions about the training program. So this person can be someone in your agency, or it can be somebody you are collaborating with. So if the CTE teacher is hired by you, or you want to put the assistant principal's name here because they can answer questions about this training and this program you have here, you put the agency, it would be your own agency, and then the coordinator or whoever knows the program and can answer questions, their address, etc. So this could be your school, or if you're collaborating with someone else, it could be a community college you are collaborating with and their contact person. And you can add more than one person. So if there's someone from your school or your agency and someone from another agency, you can just click here to add the new provider, and you have 2 different contacts here. That's fine. Okay, and you just click the plus. So this will be open to you to just fill it in here. And if you have a second one, you click the new provider. Okay, so now we're to the big part. Okay, the part that's really most important to the reviewers, because hopefully you're going to tell us all about your program. Whatever you've said above, you're going to explain it and show the support. So this is, to me, the meat: program coordination and support, the qualitative section. Okay, and we suggest you answer each question by number. So this is the new section. There are 5 questions. There used to be 3. Now there are 5. Okay. Questions 1 and 5 are new. 2, 3, and 4 used to be 1, 2, and 3. They're revised. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. It would help us a lot. Okay. Because we added new questions, we offered more characters. But that doesn't mean we want you to fill up a lot of words. We would like the most brief and concise description, but telling us everything we need to know. And also remember that this is the section we look at when we're trying to decide which of our agencies are doing an excellent job. And we want to call on you to be models for next year's teachers. We want to offer you perhaps a promising practice award or making a difference award, or have you speak at an EL Civics meeting because you're doing a great job. So don't skimp on this and just give one sentence for each answer. But on the other hand, we don't need a lot of words here. So we want it to be brief and concise, but complete, okay? So, and suggest that you answer question by number and by 1A, 1B, 2, 2A, 2B, whatever it says here. That will help us find the information and know that you answered all the questions. And we expanded this section because we believe that these 5 questions are the sort of the totality of planning and implementing a good IELCE IET program. So we need to know all of these things, and you need to do all of these things in order to have a good program. So those of you who might not be implementing till next year, these are the 5 things that you need to do to plan a good program. Okay, so I'm going to go over them. So here are the words bigger. This is how it looks on the screen. And again, this is in the summary form, so you can see all this. I'm going to go over it one by one. So this is the first new question. So we hoped you would tell us this, but we didn't specifically ask for it. So now we're specifically asking for it. Describe your agency's regional priority training needs and student training and career goals. Describe how your agency assessed the priority job and training needs in your region and how you collaborated with these groups to do so. So again, you don't just offer training. You need to know that there's needs in your communities. We want to know how you assess those needs. Early on in this program, I had an agency say, we had 0 enrollment because no one wanted to come to our course. Well, you need to know that there's needs in the community, and you need to assess your ESL students to see if they want that training before you offer it. So that's part B. How did your agency assess the needs and goals of your ESL students in establishing the training program? So don't offer a training program that your students don't want to take, even if it may be a priority need. So that's why we're being more careful now to ask you to answer these questions 1A and B. This is the first step in planning a good IELCE program. If you have a good ESL program, IELCE program, you did this, so we want to know how, and that's what we want you to answer here. Okay, question 2. So this is 2, 3, and 4. So I'm not going to go over this. These were the questions that were already there as 1, 2, and 3 last year. We added these green words to try to give you more information so you would tell us more of what we wanted to know. So we want to know that you're supporting your students with recruitment, orientation, continuing support, that you're getting rid of the barriers. And these are all the barriers that you could be getting, trying to avoid for your students or help them avoid. That you have staff collaboration, okay, in the components. We don't always see it, okay? So we want you to be sure you tell us all about this part. And again, if you number it 2, 3, and 4 and describe how you do it, that will help. So we're just trying to give you more information so you'll give us more clear answers. And number 5 is new. Again, this is a really important part. We didn't always hear about this, but we want to hear about it. Your agency's efforts for evaluation and continuous program improvement of your program. We expect that at the end of your course, you ask the students how it went for them, that you ask the teachers, that you ask the providers, that you ask everybody that's involved and perhaps your community about the workers they're getting. And then you use that information to improve your program for next year. So this is what we want to see. These 5 steps are the 5 important steps of a good IELCE program.
Lori?
Kathleen, go ahead.
Would in number 5 be include that we've started this the student success story so that they can talk to the incoming students about what they got out of the program.
Totally. Yeah, we want to hear that you're bringing students back or to taking them to the ESL classes. And so encouraging, other students to come in. I'm sure Zoe is going to do that. She's going to have those students go back to ESL to try to use it for recruitment. So that could be either part of your recruitment or here. Yeah, tell us. And if there's anything that's not part of these 5 questions you want to tell us, feel free to add in, something else that we've missed here, or fit it into one of these areas. Certainly this helps us know your program and say, this is an excellent program, or this is an excellent program, but needs some improvement, or needs improvement. The reason we do this report is to help you and offer you targeted technical assistance. So the reviewers review this for you, and then they send you feedback and tell you how you can improve for next year. And we hope you'll incorporate that feedback into next year's plans. Okay, the next section is part B, quantitative. And this has not changed from last year. It's part of the program coordination support, but it's quantitative. And again, we suggest you answer each question by number. So 1, describe how your agency tracks attendance within your agency. And then if you partner with another agency, number 2, you describe how you tracked attendance. Number 2, an appropriate answer could be NA because you don't partner with another agency. That would be fine. You don't have to go deep here. But if you have both of these things, then answer both. Don't just leave it blank. Tell us number 2, NA. It's not applicable to you. Okay, any questions about this? Okay, we're getting to the end here. Now they ask you, are you going to continue this program or discontinue it? If you continue it, you select either one or the other. And if you continue it, what are the changes for next year? Whatever you're going to do, tell us how you're going to change it. And we love, again, continuous improvement. So tell us what you're going to add this, you're going to add that, you're going to take this away because it didn't work, whatever. If you're going to discontinue, tell us why. If it's a great program, we hate to see you discontinue it, but we know sometimes there's reasons to do that. So let us know. Any questions about this? Okay, and then, yeah, it looks like there's, wherever it says save program, be sure you save it, okay? When there's a place to anything for saving, do that. Okay. Once you finish that whole program, so we did business office skills. Now, trying to think. Oh, now you want to do pharmacy tech. Okay, so then you go back and then you add plus add. Now you're going to do pharmacy tech. You go through all those steps for pharmacy tech. Now you're going to add. Okay, and you start again with each pathway. Any questions about that?
Are these the ones that we're planning for the next year?
No, this is what you did 2022, 2023. We're still in part 1. Part 1 is this year. Part 2 is next year. Yes, Kathleen.
So this applies to us because we did the business office tech, and then I just remembered this. We just added the customer service pathway through, is it Southwest Airlines or something like that? So anyway, then that would be included in this report because it's still within that before June of this year.
Yeah, but it would be a new path. As long as it's a new pathway, then you add. If it's part of the same pathway, you can put it in the previous.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Now, again, complete if planning new IESL programs for 23-24. Again, you have to be funded in order to do this. So if you're funded, again, then you just do this. And it's the first section only. So let me see if I have another slide here. Yeah, sorry, it's on 2 slides, but so it's new programs for, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't change this. I'm so sorry. It's for 23-24. So this should say 23-24. Before I send it to you, I'll make this change. I'm so sorry. I guess I got confused. And this is for 23-24 also. This should be changed. Sorry. Enter any new programs. Okay. But all you have to do is tell us the industry sector, the career pathway, the training program, the credential type, the certification, and then you talk about, just tell us what you're going to do, whatever plan you have. It doesn't have to be well formed. You're just telling us a little bit. So for example, one agency said, we are developing an internship opportunity in our school readiness programs through another college's work experience program. The students who take advantage of this opportunity will be co-enrolled. So all this should be will be, because you haven't done it yet. And it's just a short summary of what you plan. You may not be able to complete it and it may not happen, but if you're thinking of it, let us know. And again, if you're planning for next year, 23-24, July 1, 23 to June 30, 24, that goes in part 2 of this report. And I'm sorry, I didn't have the correct dates, but it is, and this is, sorry, it's here, part 2, and that should have the correct dates, 22, 23, 24, sorry. It's optional, you don't have to do it, but we'd like to know if you're planning something new. The reason we want to know is so that we can help you. If in the comments you tell us something that we know isn't going to work, or it doesn't meet the requirements or whatever, we'd like to know so we can help you before you do it. Okay, that's one of the reasons we ask you to do this. So let us know. Okay, then you get to page 4, which is finalizing. And then you get to submit as complete. Before you do that, I would print a copy. So sometimes people are asking me for copies. You shouldn't have to ask me. I wouldn't actually print it, but if you click print here, and then you go to over where it says print in your computer, you have an option to say Microsoft Print to PDF ready. I'm sorry, maybe that's not right. That's not what we want. We want to go to the next one. So you come to this, and then one of the destinations rather than print is save as PDF. So you see the picture of it over here on the left, and then you change this button on my computer, I'm sure on yours, toggles to print or save as PDF. If I were you, I would save it as a PDF, because then you have it electronically. You can send it to your administrator. You can send it to your CD consultant at some future time, whatever. So before you complete, because you can't do it afterwards, before you complete, save it as a PDF. If you want to print it, feel free. You can do both. But I think more important for your agency is that you have an electronic copy so that the next person next year has it, etc. So that's what I would do. And then after you hit this button and actually save it as a PDF, then submit as complete. You should, before you submit, you should be able to go back in and make changes. But sometimes there's some glitches, etc. Again, one advantage of doing all of your narratives on a Word doc is in case it didn't get saved, you could come and copy and paste it again. So be sure you have a copy of this before you even if you're not going to submit as complete, print out a copy or save a PDF so that in case it should get lost or something, you have it. You don't have to redo it again. In the past, a few years ago, we did have problems with things saving. So be sure you take a screenshot or have it in a PDF or whatever so that you won't have to have problems. Okay, let me see about the questions here. Okay, if we are new and we are just going to work on page 3. Okay, if you're new, you don't have to fill this out. So if you're not funded until July 1 of 2023, you do not have to fill out this report. This report is only for agencies who are funded for 22-23. And so you shouldn't even be able to get access to the report. Here's the link to the report. I think I gave it to you already. Let me give it to you again. I'm going to finish up, and then anybody who wants to stay on for questions can do that. Thank you so much for attending. Good luck on your report. Again, just trying to find out all the great things you've been doing this year, 2022-23.